Krav Maga is a self-defense and fighting system that was originally developed for the Israeli military. It was then taught to their security forces, their national police force, and since about 1981, the system's been taught in the United States to civilians and mostly law enforcement.
For the first time in Georgia, law enforcement officers are learning from experts in Israeli self-defense. Instructors say the techniques used in the Middle East can help officers on the streets of Atlanta, especially after the September 11th attacks. Channel 2's Lori Gary joins us live with her special assignment. Lori.
Well, Monica, this style is called Krav Maga, and it was developed in Israel some 40 years ago, but has quickly gained momentum here in the U.S. ever since September 11th. It teaches police officers to rely more on their instincts rather than their weapons. It is considered one of the most intensive forms of law enforcement training.
3 points of contact.
This is not martial arts, this is self-defense.
And I'm still at a good distance from it.
It's based on the natural reflexes of the body.
2, I pull the back.
So it is very easy to remember in a stressful situation.
3, shin against his back, stabilizing myself.
These are combat drills using Krav Maga techniques, first developed in Israel.
Krav Maga means contact combat in Hebrew.
Officers from around the Southeast, including FBI agents and SWAT team members, attend the first class offered in Georgia.
And it works real well in teaching officers how to deal with high-level threats when they can't access their higher force options.
Krav Maga is different from martial arts because there are no rules. The style builds on natural reflexes. Students learn vulnerable points in the human body that can be used in street fighting.
After 21 years in law enforcement, I've been in my share of altercations, arresting individuals, so I know what works on the street, what doesn't work.
Sergeant David Adderhole with DeKalb SWAT shot and killed a fugitive 8 years ago.
Which he was on top of me at the time trying to point the gun down to my head. But if I had known then what I know now, I could have reached up with my other hand or even with my left hand and just by the techniques that we've learned done a twist of the gun, taking it away from him.
The issue is, am I safe all the way in my approach? I hook. Can he turn on me? Turn. It limits his ability.
This style is used daily by the Israeli Defense Forces, also here in the U.S. by members of the New York Police Department and the military.
The National Training Center is just getting calls every day, especially since September 11th.
Officers will take what they learn here back home to share with their colleagues.
Really what we want to get out of them more than anything is for them to be able to go from a passive state of unpreparedness and unreadiness to a state of activity and dynamic action within the shortest period of time as possible.
It's a technique that's been successfully used by the Israeli army for years. Now officers here in Central Florida are learning how to take down a violent person without using a weapon. News 13's Kelly Teague has more on how officers are brushing up on a new way of self-defense that has them fighting back hand to hand.
At first glance, it looks real, but these law enforcement officers and corrections officers are only training for a real-life crisis.
We could be put in these situations on any given second.
You're watching a special form of self-defense called Krav Maga.
Krav Maga originated over in Israel. It is the official hand-to-hand combat system and self-defense system of the Israeli Defense Forces.
And what's well known in Israel is now becoming more and more well known in the U.S. as instructors travel across the country training officers.
Good guys, hook their arms.
The method is gaining a lot of momentum, especially because unlike a lot of other techniques, you won't see any spray, batons, tasers, or other self-defense weapons.
We have spray, we have guns, we have asp, we have all these other techniques, but we also have to learn to use our hands. And like he was showing us before, sometimes you have your gun in your hand and now they're right on you. You can't just use your gun all the time.
And this new technique is getting a lot of rave reviews.
You just put it where you could do the moves, and I can remember the moves.
By the end of the 8-hour course, everyone in attendance had a chance to take their turn on the mat and perfect the latest form of self-defense. In Orange County, Kelly Teague, Central Florida News 13.
Officers from Orlando Police Department, Orange County Corrections officers, as well as officers from Pinellas County all completed the training course.
Next, some local officers learn a new way to fight from an expert clear across the country. Local law enforcement officers received some special training today from an expert in Israeli defense tactics. A Los Angeles-based expert taught the class at the Orange County Corrections Training Facility. 10 officers from the Orlando Police Department and 10 Orange County Corrections officers were among those who took part in the class. Today's training focused mainly on handgun defense tactics involving disarming a suspect and takedowns.
Well, local law enforcement officers are going through military-style training.
They're learning a new way to disarm a dangerous suspect.
This group of 30 police and corrections officers are learning a military technique called Krav Maga. They hope these hand-to-hand combat methods used by Israeli forces will help them out of a tight situation someday.
The whole idea is that this is a situation where, for one reason or another, you are in a life-threatening situation. It doesn't matter how you got there, that's where you are. And so what this does is it teaches you to very quickly gain control and to counterattack that assault.
At the Krav Maga Center in Los Angeles, California, students learn to apply their defensive instincts and survive a sudden attack.
It comes, if my body's out of the line of fire, my hand should be coming from my body. Look how I go to the weapon. Thumb is where?
This no-nonsense system is the official martial art for the Israeli army, and today is taught to police agencies and SWAT teams around the world.
So basically, it's my shoulder, it's my hips, it's my whole body versus his right thumb.
Krav Maga's origins date back to World War II, when Emmy Litchfield, a refugee from Czechoslovakia, fled to Palestine and joined the fight to create a Jewish state. Already skilled as a wrestler and boxer, Litchfield began to teach his fellow soldiers how to fight and survive.
The philosophy behind Krav Maga: finish the situation fast as you can. Try to stay alive, try to stay without injured. Make damage as much as you can, disengage, move out from there.
We feel that, as opposed to other systems and other arts, we can bring people to a much higher level in a shorter amount of time. Under stress, you can perform it because you don't have to think about it, it's already in you.
For its ability to rapidly diffuse the most dangerous situations, Krav Maga defends the number 8 spot on our list.
But it's not just the average citizen who's impressed. Burbank police officers use Krav Maga in their training.
Krav Maga is probably the best defensive tactics system to come to law enforcement in the last 20 years. It's simple, it's effective, it's practical, and it works.
All we care about is what works on the street against either an armed assailant or an unarmed assailant or multiple assailants. And so our system tends to be more of a survival, self-defense, and fighting system rather than a martial art. Nothing ethereal about what we're doing.
It's called Krav Maga, Hebrew for contact combat. Originally developed over 30 years ago by the Israeli army to better equip their soldiers for all aspects of battle, Krav Maga is now being taught to ordinary people.
So I want you in. As soon as you can be in, you're going in.
Darren Levine is the chief instructor of Krav Maga in the United States. He is also a deputy district attorney in Los Angeles, where he witnesses firsthand the type of threat that Krav Maga is designed to combat.
I'm controlling it, but I must attack him with determination. I must beat him. I meet the worst of the worst every day. There are people that are downright evil, angry. They want to assault and hurt people. Someone can come up to you, pull a gun on you, tell you they want something, jewelry, money, or both. You fully cooperate with them, you still get pistol whipped, you still get beaten, you still get shot.
You see the gun, boom, you're in action. You're not going, oh, what should I do? You do. Stop thinking.
And I try and impart upon my students how important it is for them to be well trained should they ever have to deal with these people.
Come back. The goal of Krav Maga is simple: eliminate the danger by any means necessary.
A gunman is in my range and has the gun on me. Do it. From this position. And he gives me an order. Put your hands up.
Get your hands up!
I never put my hands up. Anything to win, we do. There are no rules. The person you're fighting, like, trust me, will not have any rules. And so you can't limit yourself that way. So anything goes.
Krav Maga takes basic instinctive responses to violence and crafts them into powerful weapons.
If the gun is up between my shoulders where my arm cannot cross, I still have a defense by doing what? Rotating in.
Exercises are conducted under real-life conditions, including the use of actual knives and guns.
The goal, by the way, is not